am in shambles.
So far, so good.
Hurry up, I'm losing control.
So far, so good.
It's my soft to hold, it's my tongue to know. I am such a sucker.
We'll start off by just talking about how you personally got involved with music from the very beginning.
Okay. I actually wanted to do sketch comedy, and some friends convinced me to work at, or to audition for this theater back in Cincinnati, where I'm from, called Shadowbox, and they needed some singers as well, and so that was like how I actually learned that I could harmonize and really actually sing. So I moved to Chicago to pursue sketch comedy, and ended up taking guitar lessons, and that was when my friends and family were like, why aren't you doing more music? So after that, I checked on Craigslist, and Russell's ad was the first one that I saw, and I was just doing some, not necessarily backup vocals, but kind of second vocals. And it was a really nice start, because it was a good way to get my confidence up and whatnot. And so that's kind of been my focus, more so than comedy, in the last 5 years or so.
What would you say would be like the first artist that you heard that, as soon as you heard that artist, you were like, yeah, this is what I have to do. I really want to pursue this.
The first one, I would say probably Janis Joplin. Every time I watch her performance at Woodstock, like my eyes water just watching her passion and emotion, and granted, some of that's some heroin and whiskey and whatnot. But yeah, Janis was the first one that made me just be so inspired by the passion that she puts in her music. Brandi Carlile's been a huge inspiration to me, just as far as like, you can feel what she is saying just by her vocal communication, and that's kind of the route that I tend to go toward, is just infusing some passion and emotion into what I'm singing.
Now, how did My eventually come together to start off with?
My got together primarily from Craigslist. Russell put out an ad. He was looking for a singer, a second singer, and then I responded. And then we had a few members come in and out of the band, and then we needed a guitarist, and I knew one of my friends, Johnny, he's a multi-instrumentalist, and so he originally started in the band as a guitarist, and then the keyboard player ended up moving away, so we shifted him to keys, and then Ante came next for guitars. Everyone else was on Craigslist other than Johnny, who he came just from knowing me, and I love working with him, and he's just so talented. So it was nice to have him join.
Now, you actually released your first release back in 2008, and
yeah.
Talk about the progression of each release. How do you look at each release after you're done, and when you go to the new one, how do you say, okay, this is what we did, let's focus on what we're doing this time?
Well, the early stuff, it was primarily just Russell playing with on an acoustic guitar at his house, and so the very first thing that we released, I think Russell's the only one who's in the band now who actually played on the theme songs for Your Melancholy. So those were kind of, it was more alt rock infused. The subsequent releases were it was pretty much Russell driving the songwriting. And then when we released Little Cat Plays the Alpha Rave, there's a song on there, Middle Age Hardware and Youthful Indiscretions, and that one was like, Johnny had joined the band, and Russell had this idea, and he's like, I don't really know what I'm going for here, but let's just like play around with it. And so that was much more collaborative, and we all just really loved playing that song. It had a lot more of a synthy sound, and rhythm machines and stuff going on. So that was kind of the inspiration for our next few albums. Were coming from that, and we all just we've been very all involved in the writing process, more so than prior. I mean, Russell's still the primary songwriter, but then he brings it in, and they, you know, the other guys are much more, like, you know, they're like, oh, let's go to the B flat here instead. So they'll bring it in and bring in some more variety as far as like the chords and stuff goes.
Wishing You Whatever's Best was released in 2011.
Uh-huh.
Now, was there a feeling, because I mean, I've listened to your past releases, and I've listened to this one the most, and this one seems like you were talking, there's much more form to the songs, and the writing seems so much better. When you were making this album, was there a feeling like, this is the one, this is where it's all coming together?
That one, I think Leather Silk, which was released prior to that, that was kind of the start of it, and we all just felt really solid with that. We recorded it at a newer studio that we hadn't recorded at before, called Ivy Labs here in Chicago. And yeah, and then the stuff that came out for Wishing You Whatever's Best, it was definitely just like a lot of emotion in every song. There was a little bit more collaboration. Russell was still the primary songwriter on those, but yeah, I think we were all just really pleased with the way it came out and the way it sounded, and you know, all of the songs and the structure in the songs and multiple tracks and layers that just made it a little, just, you know, sound like the fuller sound that we've been going for and wanting. And I think that the stuff that we're writing now is definitely more aligned with Wishing You Whatever's Best.
Your new single that you just released in December 2012, talk a little bit about writing that.
That one, it was a long time coming. I started the riff. I was, you know, playing on the Korg, and I came up with this riff that I just loved. And I brought it to Russell and Johnny and was like, I love this. I don't know if it's just I'm in a weird mood or what. And so both of them just really loved it as well. And so then we brought it into the rest of the band and played with it, and it just wasn't going where we wanted it to go. And so we put it to the side for a little while. And a few months later, we're like, oh yeah, there's that one song. Maybe we should come back and play with that a little more. And so that goes on for maybe a year, and then eventually we played it in rehearsal, and just everyone's pieces came together, and it just felt right. And that one was definitely it was a very collaborative effort in songwriting of, like, you know, like I came in with the general riff, but then Russell was like, I don't know, the melodies, you know, it needs something with the melody, and so he worked on the melody, and John came in with some beats that it just everyone's pieces inspired one another, and it just, the way it came together, it just felt really nice.
And then that was released as the song Starting to Change. And there was a video also released for that, which was part of a project called Fool's Road. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we wanted to make a video for this, and we were, you know, I've done a little bit of video work, but I'm not. I do a little editing and stuff, but I'm not that great at it. And so we knew we wanted to make a video, and we were asking some friends. I have a friend in film school, and then we have some friends who are artists and stuff. And as we were kind of developing it and trying to figure out what we were going to do, it just all came together. Our friend who does our cover art, Brian Mead, he had a friend from, I think they met in art school, Jessie Southern, who she was traveling across the country. She had done her own Kickstarter, and she needed a band in Chicago to film a video for it. She had scheduled one, but then it fell through because they got a touring gig. So right at the time when we needed to make a video, she was looking for a band to make a video with. And so that it just worked out. It was like serendipity, you know, with that. So she was very supportive. We had an idea of what we wanted to do with it, and she found a way just to make it work as far as the video goes. And we tapped our fans and friends to all be in the video. There's a large cast for it, so it came together really nicely. She was traveling across the country. She did 7 or 8 videos in different cities, and I can't even imagine how she she did it, because she's corresponding with bands in different cities while shooting bands in other cities. So it was a lot of work on her part.
Now, the release that you're working on right now, you just successfully launched the Kickstarter, and it was completely funded. Talk about why you made the decision to go with Kickstarter on that.
I was actually reluctant to do Kickstarter. I just, I didn't want to make our fans have to pay for our CD, and then I was like, well, okay, so a lot of other bands are doing this. Ultimately, the fans would be paying for it. It's just kind of this reverse, and they pay for it before it actually comes out. And so I still felt a little like I didn't want to feel like I was begging people, and so that's why we came up with the idea to do community service with it. It's not technically tied to the Kickstarter, because they don't allow you to do community or charity, but it's a result of that. We just wanted to give back to the community. When we made the video for Starting to Change, so many people volunteered their time and effort and talents, and so with Kickstarter, it's like, man, all of these people have come together. We got to do something to give back, and giving back to the community was a great way, and it was a goal of ours to do more in the community this year anyway. So it's since we funded our Kickstarter, we've begun doing some community service, and we've got 80 hours total that we need to do this year. So it should be really, really awesome. The people we've been working with thus far have been really excited and just great to work with.
Now, this isn't the first time your band has worked with charity. You've believed in working with charity before. Talk a little bit about what your band has done with charity and why you think it's important.
I'm trying to remember the ones in the past. It's been, I think we've mostly done more artistic based performances and stuff in the past. But for what we're doing this year, we wanted to do. I actually adopted a cat at the end of last year, and the animal shelter that we worked with, I just thought it was such a great idea. It's a not-for-profit, and all of the cats just roam free, and they take in cats that are in need, and they have this house that the cats just, they get to wander around, and it's, they're not caged and whatnot. So I definitely wanted to help them, and we're doing a charity performance with them in May. So that'll be really exciting. We have a few other bands on the bill that are really excited to help out this animal shelter as well. And then as far as the other thing goes that we really, I personally felt very passion for was we wanted to help out LGBT groups, the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. There's a company, or there's an organization called the Trevor Project, and they do suicide prevention for LGBTQ teenagers specifically. So in questioning adolescents as well. So it's really important to me. I approached them, and they happened to need help right when I was looking to see, hey, do you guys, do you need any help with anything? And they did. So we'll be working with the Trevor Project. Most of that work is going to come a little bit later in the year, but I've had some correspondence with them, and it's a great organization that we're really proud to be working with. But yeah, just as far as getting into the community and whatnot, it's people complain all the time about, just there's at times like, it can feel like you don't have a sense of community. Like a lot of people have never even spoken to their neighbors, or there's kids are being raised by the television and whatnot, and it's sad, but the way that the community came together for us it's kind of a there's definitely a community there, and people want to support other people, and it's just a matter of asking the right people for help, or asking the right people if they need help. And I personally have found that more often than not, people are willing to help. They just don't know how. So it's been a nice little discovery and affirmation of the good in people, I guess.
Now, with all the things you do, there's the charity work, there's the band and everything. What would you say would be the thing you most want to be remembered for?
I personally think just making people happy, and if you can make them feel good for even a short 5-minute stint, then I think that's, for me personally, what I would want to be remembered for. It might come through music, but it could just come from, being there for someone when they needed it.
And I can't let you off the hook too early. Let's talk about that Nicki Minaj Super Bass cover. What inspired that?
So we were driving back from a mini tour last year in Ohio, and I'm in my car, and Super Bass comes on, and I just love the song. It's on my workout mix and stuff. And I was singing along with it, and I was like, oh, I think I might be able to pull this off. And it just so happens that we learned that our drummer can beatbox. Like he's so great at beatboxing. And I was like, how can we get that on stage? And then, right as I was thinking of that, that's when Super Bass came on my MP3 player, and I was singing along to it, and I was like, I wonder if John can pull this off. And sure enough, we worked on it a bit, and it's so fun to perform. Like, all of us, I think, are just like smiling the whole time we're on stage with it.
All right. If people want to check you out, they can go. You have the website. You're on Facebook. Any other places they can get a hold of your music?
There's of course our website, myband.com. It has all of our information, all of our shows, which will have a bunch of shows that should be listed in the next coming weeks. We've been working on booking some stuff for later this year. Basically our website's the best place to go, and it'll get you to Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all of those other internet things.